Hi, my name is Azalea Flores at Galena Park High School. Today we wanted to present to you how to create resumes in the correct format pertaining to a job. So first I want to give an overlay on what we're going to talk about today. First we're going to go over the overview of a resume. This will be the basics of what to include. Then we're going to go into construction, which involves giving you out some tips and helpful hints on how to build your resume. Then we're going to go into a layout that explains the formats of resumes and which one best works for you. Then we're going to look at a few examples so that you can see side by side what your resume can have and what it needs to have. Then we're going to move into construction. We're going to look at formats and pick the resume that will best suit ours and our needs. Then we're going to put it all together into one final product so that we can submit it to the job that we hope to apply for. So for basic building for a resume, we first want to have personal information ready. This includes our email addresses, our addresses, and your phone number that you want to use. For email addresses, I would advise you to find a professional email address that you didn't make in like 6th grade, something professional so that employees can contact you and it'll look professional for you as a person. Then we want to tie in some experience that includes like volunteering or working with your parent, or even some volunteer work that you've done over the summer or something like that. Now this is going to be the timeline that we use. First, we're going to find a job. Any job that you wish to locate that meets your requirements, we're going to find that first and find the job description so that we know what to include in our resume. Then we're going to have a basic resume. This is the first step into all resumes because we need a foundation. Once we have this foundation, we can build our resume to be greater for that job. Now we're going to research and fix up our resume. With the researching, we're going to look at the mission statement of the job and the executive summary that they might have so that we can pull key stuff that they say to fit into our resume. Then we're going to submit our resume and hope we get an interview. So for the basics, we want to always have one resume that we have as a foundation. This is never going to be the finish line, but it's just so you can start and have a foundation to build off of. You should save this so that you can go back and refer to it when you need to. This is our goals for a resume. First, we're going to have a resume that's catered to the job description. So we're going to look at the mission statements and the objectives to find this so that we can really tie it in together. Then we're going to have it industry specific. We're going to use the terminology that the industry uses so that we can be fit in their culture, because some places like Target, they use guest instead of customer. So we want to use that language instead of customer so that they know that we belong with them. Now we're going to be brand specific. We're going to aim our resume towards their mission statement. We're going to use keywords that will match theirs because our resumes get scanned, so we're going to use the keywords that they have so that it can perfectly match it. We're going to do all of this in 5 basic steps. The first step is the simple, clean layout of our first resume that we're going to build. Then we're going to put our best stuff on the top. Always put the most important things about you on the top. So this would be like your work experience, because this is for a job. So if we want to apply for a job, we need to have our work experience first on the top, because this is the most important when getting a job. Then we'll put the less relative stuff at the bottom, such as awards and stuff like that. Then we're going to put keywords in our resume. As I stated before, these words will come from the objective and the mission statements or any of the requirements that they wish that you have, so that you can show them like, I have these skills.
This looks very impressive. What are we making?
It's for, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's cool.
Thank you. That's okay.
I'll just give the time. You have 4 minutes.
Okay. Now we're going to use key metrics, which includes numbers that are very specific to what we're talking about. For example, if I say I helped create I stock books in the library, like how many books, so I would be like, I stock like 10 books per day, or like 200 books in total and stuff like that. use a specific number so that we can dictate how much that is, like how much effort are you putting. Then we're going to use great grammar and spelling. Make sure you go over your resume a couple of times to make sure that everything is spelled right. Now we just need three things to make our resume. First is personal information. Again, we need an email address that is appropriate for a job and appropriate that makes us look professional. Then we need our phone number and our home address. This will be at the top of our resume. Now we need experience. Experience can be volunteering, working, and make sure to get the exact dates that you started and ended, and get the contact information so that the job can contact them. I want to stress that anybody has experience. Everybody has experience. Even if you don't think you do, you do. This could be babysitting, when you babysitted your brother or your nephew, or this could be whenever you went to a job location with your father or your mother and you were with them side by side helping them. Like anything can count as experience if you put your mind to it. You just have to be creative with it. But I just want to tell you that you have experience some way. You just have to pull it and twist it in your own way. Next is our education in our school. We want to gather the achievements that we have, our clubs, the organizations that we're a part of, and if you're an underclassman, this is where you're gonna realize that you need to get more involved in school so that you can put these activities in your resume, because it'll really strengthen how you appear and how like overall you look. Because if you're in clubs and you're like president, it looks really good for you because it shows how involved you are and how good you are with like time management and stuff like that. So first, let's talk about activities. I want you to take 10 to 15 minutes to write down all your activities you've been in during high school. This is a chance for you to realize, like, maybe I need to join more clubs, or maybe I need to be more active, or maybe you have too much. Don't put, for a resume, you don't want to put overloaded with all your activities. You want to pick like three or two or four that really show who you are as a person, and not just I joined this because it makes me look good. You don't want to put as much. Like, put the ones that show who you are as a person and that you value. throughout the resume portion, we talked a lot about the job description and the mission statements and all that. So we wanted to show you how exactly to find this. So this is a Target job site. Here we can find out which job position that we want. We can search up any location and how far. So we'll just pick the first one to show. This is for a guest advocate or a cashier at Target. If you go here, it says everything that you need to know about Target and all the terminology that you need to pull from. So right here, they say guest a lot and they refer to like customers. So in your objective, you would want to refer to people or customers as guests so that you can show that you are part of their culture and that you can fit in. Everything that you need to know to make your vocabulary like follow their vocabulary is all right here. The way in the responsibilities that you can just pull from here and build your objective from that and build the keywords throughout your resume through that. So if you're talking about an experience that you had, you can bring up stuff that they like. So right here they say that you might be a great match if you're working in a fun and energetic environment. So you would talk about how you're very like a positive person and how you are friendly to everybody so that you can show them that you are a people person and that you can easily talk to people and not be antisocial or distant with people. You would also want to pull up their mission statement so that you can see their values. So if we scroll down, you can see their vision statement, what they want, and this will help you use good words to fit in your resume. So their core values right here, it says celebrating diversity, community engagement, and ethics at work. So in your resume, you would talk about how you want to contribute to this and grow this so that they can see that you want to be a part of it.
So now let's jump into resume formats. There's functional, chronological, combo/hybrid. Chronological focus on your work history. Functional focus on your skills and strengths. And combo/hybrid focuses on both, so work history, skills, and strengths. So a little bit more in depth in chronological resumes. This would be perfect if you have a lot of work experience. I know that right now as students we don't have much of that. Personally, I don't. I've only worked 2 jobs. So I wouldn't use this personally now. I hope to do so someday, but I don't have that type of experience yet. So how it works, you can see, I don't know if you can see an example, but this person has a work experience listed from their first one up to their most present one. But the thing with this as well is you only have 1 page to do for a resume, or that's what we recommend to do. We're not Einstein, we don't need 2 pages, we just need 1. So what you would do is list all your best work experience in the sense of you want no work gaps. That's the one thing about this. You wouldn't want to use it if you don't have consistent work experience, just because it would be questionable for employers to see that. Just like if you're like off for an entire year, then you'd be like, oh, why was this person off? So there's the only reason why you wouldn't use that. But it is great if you have a lot of it. Okay, so now into functional resume. Like I said, this mostly focuses on your skills and your strengths. This is kind of perfect for us as students just because even though we don't have experiences, we do have skills and strengths as of right now. But it does have a little bit of it, so honestly this would be perfect for us just because it's like you could list your work experience even though it's not much, but then go into depth with your skills and strengths, what you've learned from those jobs, what you can do as a person and individual. The only thing about this is that when they do go to scan a resume, it could be a little bit troubling for this one. So for a combo/hybrid resume, like I said, it kind of includes both of your skills, strengths, and work experiences. But the only thing about this one is that you have to have a strong set in both. So have a good sense of work experience and a good sense of your skills and strengths and what you're able to do. But this is the perfect example. It has their skills, what they're good at, and their work experience, of course, in chronological order. And also remember, when you're putting your work experience, make sure to do the company, and then the time you started to the time you ended. Oh, and also include just kind of what you did there, what you learned with keywords, which you're going to see in future slides. So just take some time and list down your work experience. Remember that you have experience no matter what. Whether it's babysitting, like she said, stocking books at the library, volunteer work especially. And like she said, it's a good time to like focus now and be like, oh, okay, I have to join like clubs and stuff like that. Just because it does look better and it does like add something to your resume, like, oh yeah, they're capable just because they're in clubs, they're doing volunteer work. Like, we're students, so it's like sometimes we're a little bit iffy about us, but as long as you have some set of skill work or you have some strengths, you're good to go. So just take time and do that, what you've done, how long, and total hours.
Objective keys. Be specific. So be very specific when like explaining why you want the job. Use keywords, which is like, I want this job because I fit better in blah 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 blah. Those keywords can really tie into what you really want in this job. Show that you belong. Show that you can fit well with your environment, with the job's criterias and all, because what you want is to be comfortable and have the job be easy to fit in and go into. Show you add value, not just what you want. So don't, for example, like the Whataburger example, don't say that, I want this job because I can flip patties. That's basic and that is not good. Show that you add value. Show that I can work well with others. I can communicate well. This is why this job is perfect for me, and so on. Section 2 is experience again. Your experience is crucial for helping a potential employer decide if you're qualified for the job. So your experience section should be up to date. You should have your experience and then have the date you started or ended it. And you should have at least 5 things of experience. That's a really good resume building right there. And say you haven't had a job, you could still have experience in volunteer hours and skills. So say you volunteered at an animal shelter, that is experience right there, and that'll be perfect for if the skill set can fit in the job. When building it, when listing work experience, we recommend you to use the following format. So on the top will be name of your company. So if it was Whataburger, so it would be Whataburger. City and state of company, you'll figure that out. You just look up, I'm sure it'll say whatever job you want and with the site. Title of your position, so say you want to be a general manager, you just put that on the bottom. Dates you worked at the company, so whatever year, if it's years, then I would recommend you using the years instead. And then bullet points explaining what you achieved at the company. So what you do at the company, did you exceed 5 years? Did you get employee of the month? That would be great on your resume. Section 2, experience. Don't just give you the basic job experience. It is easy to trap to the fault, and so avoid saying that. Another example for the Whataburger is saying that something basic like, I'm really good at cleaning the floors or mopping. That's really bad for a resume, and I advise you not to do that. You should put like communication skills and your worth ethic and so on. To avoid, ask yourself these questions. How would you perform the job better than others? So just give, and that can also entail in keywords again, saying that, I'm very communicative, I'm very time management, I'm very organized, I'm very so on. An example of a resume would be, this is for the experience section, and volunteer experience or work experience, so it looks very, very organized. And also you want to put key metrics, so if you're explaining something, like I worked at a daycare that had 15 volunteers. That would be great. You always want to put a number to what you say because it just gives more emphasis on it. So a great example of a key metric is right here under the community library. It seems that they worked at the community library from 2018 to March 2020. And under that is a bullet point stating she created a learning environment for 15 to 30 children, which is a key metric right there, saying that those 15 to 30 children, and it just ups the resume even more as I prepared those activities and so on. So that's just a great way of explaining more in depth what you did for that job or volunteer. Action words for resume building, these are very important because you want to have this very professional. You don't want to use words like, I did this, it was cool. Like, that's not good words. You want to use these big words that, like addressed, advised, answer, so on. last section should include all relevant education degrees. So say you're a high school student, just put your high school, senior high school, whatever, because you haven't gotten your diploma yet. And be careful with your GPA when putting it on the resume, because if your GPA is below a 2.0, I would advise not putting that because it can make it lower. And include all certificates or awards that are relevant to the job. Don't put an award that you won, like best drawer in the 5th grade class, like if you're working at Whataburger, because you don't need that. So any award that you got that's anything to do with like working together, working with one another, that would be good.
So when we look at resume examples, I want to show you how my resume used to be and how it is now. So I made this last year. You can see how I put my education section. I put my GPA, I put my rank, my classes, my college, but this section isn't required. It isn't needed for a job resume, so I wouldn't advise you to put any of this here. Put your school, but don't put any of your GPA, your ranks, your classes, because they don't care about that, and it'll also make you weaker compared to other components if your GPA is lower. And then here are my activities. You would think this is perfect, but I'm selling myself short because you can expand on what you did and you can explain. So I said I would plan out practice times, but like what exactly? You need to be specific. I would say I collected events to compete for my team, but I had to expand on this and what I actually mean. And if we look at my volunteer experience, this is like the most heavy part that we need to elaborate on, especially for a job resume. And you can see how it's at the bottom. It's not even at the top, and that's bad because this is for jobs, so we should put our work experience on the top, not education. Education is more of something that you would put more at the bottom. So if we look at the first volunteer work experience that I had, all I said was that I aided underclassmen in their studies and explained a variety of topics. That is so vague, and that doesn't explain anything that I did, because anybody can do that. Anybody can teach somebody how to do it. But I had to explain what I did differently than other people to make this student tutoring different. Like, how did I make an impact in there? So if we look at my finalized product of resume, you can see, if we go back to the student tutor, you can see how I put my key metrics when I said 20 underclassmen, and I explained which topics I was actually teaching. So it says calculus, chemistry, English, history. Then I expand here and I provide additional information saying what else I did and how I made a difference. I was more elaborate on this one and then more than the other one. You can see for my first one, you want to put your first experience the one you are most active in, the one that you are engaging more in, and put the ones that you haven't been in for a while more at the end. And if we look at my education again, you see how it's changed. It doesn't show what I had before, because it's not a good idea to put any of that. And if we look back into my activities and clubs, it's more elongated and more specific to what I'm actually doing. So if we look at my objective, you can see how this is for target, right? You can see how I use the energetic environment that they stated, and I put it in my objective to show that I am like that as well. And I use the word guest to show them that I fit into their culture. And I showed them how I wanted to improve, and I wanted to use their culture and be a part of it and make it better in my own way. So this is what, after learning about resumes, this is what the final product was, and this is how it used to be. And you can see how you can expand so much more. Here's another example of a student who also is in DECA. You can see how she isn't explaining herself as she could, and she could sell herself much more than she is. This is the first one. It shows how it's very bare minimum, and she has her education here, which she has her GPA and her classes, but they don't care about that. And here's her final product, which shows and highlights her key strengths more accurate I should say. So these are two examples that you should follow and that you can look upon when you are having trouble